Welcome everybody to the 6 p.m. City Council meeting of June 4th, 2019. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present except for Vice Chair Chaberka, who has asked to be excused. I've asked Council Member Heyer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would everyone please rise and recite the pledge with me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Please consider joining us for a moment of silence. Thank you. First item on our agenda is item of common consent, including the setting a public hearing for the enterprise fund transfers.
Chair Nadolski, I would make a motion that we adopt the common consent agenda.
Second.
And set the public hearing for June 18th on the item.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Lopez to adopt the item of common consent. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next items are public hearing, starting with the FY 2019-2020 tentative budget. We have Ms. Janine Eller-Smith.
Thank you, Chair Nadolski and council members. I'm glad to have this opportunity to present the fiscal year 20 tentative budget. This is information that you've seen before when you set the public hearing. The tentative budget, Chair Nadolski was asking me earlier why we adopt a tentative budget and then 2 weeks later we consider the final budget. And actually, it's because state law says we have to adopt a tentative budget. In prior years, there's been times when we've just adopted the budget the same night that the mayor has presented it. But in the last few years, we thought it was better to take some time to go through it so that you know exactly what you're adopting. So that's why we're doing the process this way. In the tentative budget, the priorities, most of the funds is going for compensation for employees, up to 4% for the non-sworn and 4% step increases for the qualifying sworn. There are one council member asked if there were any employees that were not receiving merit increases this year, and there actually are, at the time that I asked the question, about 13 out of the 600 plus employees that would not be receiving step increases this year. There's significant money going for redevelopment projects, changes in the way we're funding the arts, although not a reduction. It's just a change in the way you're funding. And then there's some additional funding for recreation, and those are the major priorities and changes that are included. As you know, the mayor did not propose a tax increase for this year. We will not be going through truth and taxation unless in the next couple of weeks the council decides that that's something they want to consider. So there's no additional money built into this tentative budget anticipating a tax increase. There are 16 new positions proposed in the tentative budget, some in police, some in plan review. We just, in the work session, discussed the changes in the parks and recreation maintenance. 5 have been eliminated, so there's a net 11 new positions in this budget. This is just a quick review of the general fund revenue, all the different sources that it comes from. So there's $1.9 million over the FY19 adopted budget, just a 3% increase. And when you compare some of the other major funds, this is how they compare. Anywhere between 2 and 3% increase. You notice there's a great a large decrease in airport. That's because in FY19 we had a large grant amount that the city received, which we don't receive for this year. So total budget, there's less than 0.5% change from FY19 adopted to the 20 proposed. A lot of times we'll have a Schedule A, which outlines changes to the tentative budget. There are currently no proposed changes to the tentative budget in the Schedule A. However, there will be a Schedule A1, which will be adopted with the final budget. We have some changes for that, and we'll review those in just a few minutes. This is the council process schedule for if the council decides not to go through a truth and taxation process. We are at the June 4th adopt a tentative budget. Next week, we will have scheduled a Facebook Live event to take questions from the public on the budget. We've also be pushing out a request for questions prior to that date so that we can have those questions to answer live and then answer any that come in on Facebook during that event. We're going to have the public hearing for the final budget on June 18th. And it's that point where you'll have to make a decision whether or not you want to continue the hearing to the 25th for final adoption, or whether or not you want to go through the truth and taxation process. So that's the question. That's the tentative budget. Like I mentioned, there's no changes from the mayor's proposed budget, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Janine?
Janine, going to the live on the 11th of June, do they go to Facebook or to the website of the city?
Yeah, they have to go to the city council's website, Facebook page, and it'll be live streaming there, and they should be able to watch for that, and they can ask questions on their computer, which will pop up on our Facebook page, and we'll have Brandon and Eric monitoring that so you can answer the questions.
Okay.
Can I have Brandon or Eric like right here
Sure.
for that? You're going to have to give me some good instructions.
And we'll have plenty of staff here to answer questions if by any chance you don't happen to know the answer.
Oh, yeah.
So.
No. Just help me keep up with the technology. Any more questions for Janine or for administration if you wish? Nope. Okay. Still more work to do on the budget, even with a tentative budget before us.
This is a public hearing.
Right.
I was just going to mention you can go ahead and have the take input now, and then maybe have the presentation on the second one, and then you're just closing the public hearing once. Just a suggestion. It's an option.
Okay. These are pretty unrelated. I was planning on just doing opening the public hearing twice. Yeah. Okay. This is a public hearing. If anybody wishes to address the council on the proposed tentative budget, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name.
Hello, good evening, Angel Castillo. I'd like to thank everybody for the grinding process of going through the budget. It is no fun. It's a really big document if you print it out, and I've gone through a lot of toner. But I wanted to talk about something that I've been talking to you about all year, and that will have to do with increasing the salary for our police department. While I understand that there's a 4% increase in general pay on each level for the police department, I still find it glaringly unsatisfactory to retain our qualified officers. We're operating at below capacity, and we're set up to lose more officers. And one of the things that's very important to the quality of life as citizens is to feel safe in their community, and it's also something that's very important to business. when new businesses are looking at moving to Ogden or opening up an establishment here, one of the things that they look at is a crime rate. And while I know that Chief Watt has done an outstanding job in reducing crime overall with the Safe Neighborhoods program, that was funded by a grant. And I don't see where we're going to continue that work without additional funds, let alone salaries of the officers. So I encourage you to strongly look to where money can be trimmed in the budget to bolster the public safety and by increasing our officers' pay rates to at least come close to that of SLC. I understand that there is a disparity and we'll never probably be able to stay rank and file with them, but I think it's imperative that we make it attractive to stay in Ogden as an officer. $10 an hour more is a huge life-changing difference to someone with a family. And then I'd also like you to consider, if we are really and truly an arts-oriented city, that we look at changing our model to that of most cities across the United States as a 1% for arts off of new construction. I understand you've changed the model, but if you really and truly want to make this an arts-thriving community, you're going to need to be able to fund larger projects, and that revenue stream is most likely to come from new construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. Anybody else wish to address the on this item? Okay.
Chair Nadolski, seeing no movement, I would make a motion that we close the public hearing on this item.
Second. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Blair to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. Aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes. Any other questions on this item or discussion or entertaining action?
If you're ready for a motion, I'll make that.
Yeah, I guess I'll just make a comment
Okay.
that although we're here to consider the tentative budget, I think Janine covered why we do that, but I hope folks know that we still have time to consider changes to the proposed, that we've kind of been working through the budget, finding things that we do want to make changes, and that those changes will happen when we get to the final budget for which we're setting the public hearing tonight. So, okay, if there's no other comments or questions, if anybody has, I'll entertain a motion.
Chair Nadolski, then I will make a motion that we adopt proposed ordinance 2019-21.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Blair to adopt proposed ordinance 2019-21. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Blair.
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Chair Nadolski.
Aye. That passes. I am a little heartened to know that we'll be back in short order this year, or at least that's the plan for now. I do think that we've found some things that we do want to make some adjustments to and try to set aside some funds, et cetera, for priority council projects that are related to the community survey that we are going to get some results soon on. Janine mentioned we'll get that report on the 30th. In her presentation, I think that I just got a message that some preliminary results hit our inboxes just a bit ago. So we're actively managing through the information and data and the budget all at the same time. So look forward to a final budget. Okay, next item is the Quail Run Drive street vacation. Mr. Montgomery.
Good evening, members of the council. This is an item being forwarded to you from the Planning Commission regarding a minor adjustment to the Quail Run Drive street. And just to give you an idea of where this is located at, it's at the south end of Quail Run. That little dot is probably larger than the piece we're talking about of being vacated. So just to give you an idea of what has taken place, an amended plat had been filed for Phase 8 of the Quail Run subdivision. And in that amended plat, Lot 26 was expanded in size. In that expansion, it also changed the alignment of the existing platted Quail Run to flatten out the curve as the project would move further to the south. in that flattening of the curve, that little red triangle piece you see on that photo, 50 square feet, would no longer be part of the existing city right-of-way. It would, because of that change of the angle of the street, that becomes a remnant piece. And to take care of that so that we have a consistent right-of-way width, it's important to vacate that little triangle so that that can still be part of the lot. But with the change of the shape of Quail Run Drive, we still have the required right-of-way width. So as the Planning Commission looked at this, they had a couple things to look at, which the ordinance states. One, is there a good cause? And the revision of the alignment is the good cause. Is anyone materially injured by this? Since there are no improvements in that portion, there are no material injuries taking place by a street vacation. So the Planning Commission recommends to you by a 6-0 vote to vacate that small 50 square foot portion of Quail Run Drive.
Okay. Thank you. This is a
Public
simple item. Cleanup. Any questions for Greg? Okay. This also is a public hearing. If anyone in the public wishes to address the council on this item, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name for the record. Seeing no motion.
Chair Nadolski, I would make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Lopez to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. The public hearing is closed. Entertain a motion to take action on the item.
I will go ahead and make a motion that we adopt proposed ordinance 2019-20.
I second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Blair, second by Councilmember Stevens to adopt proposed ordinance 2019-20. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Heyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Blair.
Aye.
Chair Nadolski.
Aye. That passes. Thanks for sticking it out with us, Greg, for a small item, but I'm glad we were able to move that one through quickly to clean things up. Okay, next item on our agenda is new business. Fiscal year 2019-2020 final budget. Janine Neller-Smith.
Thank you. So this is just a quick presentation to review the final budget before you set the public hearing. As we just reviewed, the final budget does include the compensation increases for the employees, changes in art funding, and some additional money for recreation. The staffing changes that we just discussed. And I just put a little question mark here, no proposed tax increase yet. As you haven't made that final decision. I know there's a couple of council members that are interested in doing it for a couple of reasons, just as a matter of process and also to consider recouping some money that we lose every year due to inflation. General fund comparisons, again, there weren't any changes to the A with that A schedule, and budget comparisons are the same. So we do have some proposed Schedule A1 changes, and these were provided to you earlier, and I updated the packet information to include this item yesterday when I received it. So after the mayor submitted his budget, there was still some continued negotiations with the city's health insurance provider. And as a result of those negotiations, they were able to get some additional cost savings from those negotiations. And those are equal to, I think, $250,000 in the general fund and another $25,000 in the internal service funds, fleet, IT, and risk. So that's an additional $275,000 from the health insurance. They found some additional marketing costs that they think can be used, and costs from Mount Ogden Peak that they haven't used in the last couple of years that they are suggesting to be moved to and held for future strategic plan projects. You know, we're going through this process with a strategic plan. We had discussed setting aside some money in the budget for projects that may come out of that strategic plan process. We had some discussions about $500,000. There will be some additional funds available, but not that will be left over from the FY19 budget. But those won't be available until after we've gone through the audit. So there'll probably be at least $170,000 available for a total of $500,000 for those strategic plan projects that we can make available for those things. As you know, when we started the strategic plan process, we didn't believe that we would have the results in time to use that information for this year's budget, and we made that clear. But as we've been asking people and getting people excited, we thought, you all thought it would be a good idea to set aside money to show that we were hearing them, and that, in fact, we wanted to make sure that we were working towards some of the recommendations that will come out of that plan. There's a couple other changes that are proposed. The Comptroller's Office identified an error in the full-time salaries in the airport, so they are recommending pulling some retained earnings from the airport to make that correction in the full-time salaries. And they also wanted to recognize some grant funding, and I can see an error. It should be $125,775 for the track line Parkway Trail. So that makes a total of $200,775 change in the A1 schedule, and that's to the total city budget. Any questions about that before we go on?
Janine, can you elaborate on the marketing costs and the Mount Ogden Peak costs, what those?
So I do know that Mount Ogden Peak costs related to some money that they set aside when they have to access it through helicopter, and they haven't used that money in the last couple of years, so they opted to make that change. The marketing money, I may have to defer to Mark or to Lisa if she's here about that.
We had proposed in the budget $175,000 for marketing. We took a look and thought maybe we could do it for $150,000, so we took that $25,000 and put it towards the monies for you to consider for future projects.
Marketing for downtown events or?
Marketing the city in general.
Thanks. Which department are the Mount Ogden Peak costs in? Is that in?
It's in fleet facilities.
Fleet facilities. Okay. Any other questions for Janine, guys? Sorry.
So again, we reviewed the schedule without the truth and taxation. Here's the schedule if you decide to do that we would, on June 18th, you'll hold your public hearing, make your final decision. If you decide to do the truth and taxation, then we will adopt the salary schedules on June 25th so your employees can get paid. And then July 16th, we could hold another public hearing and adopt the final budget on August 13th. So that is that. The recommendation is to just set the public hearing for June 18th. With the idea that if you don't do the truth and taxation, that would be continued to June 25th for the final decision.
Thank you, Janine.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Unless there's any other questions for Janine before she sits down. Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, this is not a public hearing yet. I'll entertain comments or action on the item.
Okay.
Don't fight over it now.
Well,
Let's not fight over it.
I sometimes jump the gun a little, so
You're good.
if anybody else
Sometimes I
wants.
count on you.
I guess. Turnadolsky, then I will make the motion that we act on proposed ordinance 2019-25 and set the public hearing for June 18th on the adopting the budget.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember White to set the public hearing for June 18th, 2019 for proposed ordinance 2019-20-25, which is the fiscal year 2019-20 final budget. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries forward to June 18th. Thanks, you guys. Next item on our agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding concerns or ideas on any topic. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes and state your name for the record. Thanks.
My name is Spencer Chen. I'm a citizen of District 4. I have a few comments, maybe concerns, and I've been trying to look at over the Ogden City website and cannot find a solution. So here am I tonight. Questions number one is, which departments overseeing the debt collections or any bill left behind in general? For example, like water bill, parking tickets, and etc. And does each department have their own policy of collection those debts behind? Okay. Number two, if there are outstanding debts balance owed to city, how long is statutory limitations timing to go after those debts? And question number three, if a conflict arises, are there any remedy to citizens or chances of appeal or hearing? Thank you.
Thank you. So you're one of my constituents. You're one of all of our constituents, but you live in my district. I'll pause you. I assume you're confronted with a challenge that you're trying to get answers to help resolve?
Yes. I have a property sold 2 years ago, and there was been outstanding water bills sent to me after 2 years. After the property is closed 2 years.
Okay.
So I'm worried about, is the department, any department overseeing those bills that's been left over there 2 years after the property is closed?
Okay.
So what I'm concerned is, if there's debts owed to city, any department, it should be going to collections or put in a liens or a judgment, anything sooner than 2 years before the property is transferred to other owners.
Okay.
And if that's the case, when you transfer a property to a different owner, it should be caught in title search. So all the encumbrance, any judgment, any lien will be paid before the property closed. So the city could come after me after that property is closed 2 years later. I just don't understand. And then I try to get answer with emails and phone calls to different departments and never get a result. And then finally, the bill was forcibly added to my current residence. So I just want to know, is there any solution? What can we do on this situation?
Okay.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Yeah, I'll see if we can get you some answers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I know our rules allow us to ask questions. I didn't know how to handle the time when I did that. But anyone else wish to address the council before we get to answers?
Angel Castillo. I would really like to thank the council for the efforts they've been making on their Facebook page to stream these events. I'm hearing from a lot of people that cannot make these meetings that this is something that's a great benefit to them. And I'm also would like to applaud you for, even though you don't have the results of your survey yet, you're thinking ahead and you're setting aside some additional money to answer things that might come up in the survey, even though you would have liked that survey a lot sooner so that you could really make a difference. I think that's a great thing, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure all of your constituents appreciate it as well. And again, the live Q&A on the budget, I think, is going to be a great thing. There are many people that have very rigid 9-to-5 jobs, child care obligation that make it so that they cannot be here or they cannot attend things that the city sponsors during the normal workday. So rather than complain about something, I would really like to applaud you for taking those steps towards communication and transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council? Okay. Seeing no more public comments, do you guys have some insight into the questions from Mr. Chen?
We do. A lot of what we do for collections, we have to follow state law for that. So if you can hold on just after the meeting, which is about to close, we'll give you one of our business cards, and we'd be happy to take care of that personally and let you know how we can remedy that for you. I'm sorry that information wasn't available, and we'll go to work on that if you can just wait a few more minutes for the meeting to close. So, but I appreciate you being here and reaching out and giving us a chance to correct that. And then I'd also say that event season is upon us. First Twilight is on Thursday, car show's on Saturday. If people say there aren't many things to do in Ogden, they don't leave their door very often. So we appreciate all the hard work everybody puts into that. I know they're, with Spike 150, the marathon and everything coming up, they're kind of got the 1,000-yard stare already early in the season, and we just want to thank them for all of their work to put all of that together. Did I say Thursday?
Yeah, Saturday.
Oh, Friday. Car show's Friday. That's what I meant.
This Friday?
I think Councilmember Lopez is one of our judges. Is that right?
I volunteered.
Please.
Was I selected?
You were.
Yes, you were.
It was
Great.
It was a competitive process.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you were selected.
It wasn't even close.
But it is fun. I did it last year. Wasn't even close. Yeah, you.
Everybody
ran
was
away
fighting
with
over
it,
it, huh?
Okay, comments from council members.
I just want to also mention the Ogden, the OFOAM event that happened this weekend, and a lot of people attended out there. And so I just wanted to make sure that we did a shout out for those guys as well.
Anyone else? I'll just, if there's no other comment, I'll just make the comment. Thanks, Mr. Chen, for coming in. I hope you'll take my card as well before you go. I'd like to keep up to speed on resolution, hopefully. But I think you brought up some questions. Hopefully we can get some clarity to make sure if there's a policy inconsistency or an issue, that's certainly for this body to deliberate on. So hopefully, if we can keep in touch, maybe we can bring to the surface if there's some of those policy issues. Okay, thanks. Okay, if there's no other comments from council members, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion. Right, we have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Lopez to adjourn. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are.